Welcome to today's webinar. We're thrilled to have you with us. Today, we're excited to show you how the new integration between BLOX NXT and Nextdoor helps newsrooms expand their hyperlocal reach and engage verified neighborhood audiences without adding extra daily tasks to your schedule. Here's a quick look at what we'll be covering on the agenda today. First, we'll do some brief introductions. Then we'll outline what the BLOX Digital Notifier and Nextdoor integration looks like, what it empowers you to do. We'll cover some Nextdoor overview and tips and tricks. And then Stacy will jump into a brief BLOX Digital demo showing you how it works within the interface, how to set it up. And then we'll do a Q&A. Before I hand things over, a couple of quick housekeeping notes. Today's session is being recorded, and we will send out a link to the recording to all registrants as soon as it's been processed. If you have any questions during the presentation, please feel free to type them into the Q&A box at any time. Don't worry if we don't answer right away. We'll collect questions throughout the session and address them during our Q&A period at the end. Joining us on today's call are Stacy Johnson, Product Manager for Messaging at BLOX Digital, alongside Jason Huang, Head of Product Partnerships at Nextdoor, and Savannah Allen, Product Marketing Manager at Nextdoor. With that, I'm going to hand things over to the team to get started.
Hello, everyone. My name is Stacy Johnson. I am the Product Manager for Messaging at BLOX Digital. At BLOX Digital, our goal is to help you and get your content in front of as many readers as possible without creating more work for your staff. Every day, your teams are publishing breaking news, community events, weather alerts, sports, and local stories. And those stories deserve to be seen wherever your audience is already spending their time. And Nextdoor has become one of those places. That's why we're so excited that Nextdoor is now available as a publishing destination through BLOX Notifier in both BLOX NXT and BLOX Legacy. Whether your organization has already migrated to Next or whether you're using our legacy platform, the access you'll have is the same integration and it'll help you to have a streamlined publishing experience. So let's talk about what this means for your organization. At BLOX Digital, every new integration that we have answers one question: how does this help our partners do more with the resources they have? That's exactly what this partnership with Nextdoor is designed to accomplish, to help you reach audiences with your content without adding additional workflows for your staff. So the first benefit that we have is that it's a hyperlocal reach at scale. So your newsroom already creates content that matters to local readers: city council meetings, high school sports, community events, and public safety alerts. Nextdoor allows you to deliver that content directly into the neighborhoods where it's most relevant. So instead of hoping that readers discover your stories, you're placing your stories in a location where local conversations are already happening. And that helps increase visibility and keeps your publication connected to the communities you serve. This is even more important in an AI world where search referral traffic is getting more and more difficult to maintain. It helps to build that connection with your reader, which is a vital element to publishing today. The second benefit is increased engagement. People visit Nextdoor specifically to learn about what's happening nearby. That means local stories often generate more meaningful conversations because they're directly connected to your readers' daily lives. Whether you're promoting community events or sharing breaking news, you're reaching an audience that's already invested in what's happening in their neighborhood. The third advantage is that it's a trusted environment that Nextdoor provides. Through the BLOX Notifier integration, publishers can establish a verified news account on Nextdoor, which gives readers confidence that the information they're seeing comes from a credible news organization. This helps strengthen your brand and reinforces your role as a trusted voice in the community. And finally, as always with BLOX Digital, this integration aims to help with workflow efficiency. This is where BLOX Notifier really shines. We don't want to create another platform for your team to manage. Instead, we built Nextdoor directly into the publishing workflows that you already use. You can publish manually as you're creating content or include Nextdoor as part of your existing automations without relying on maintaining RSS feeds or maintaining a separate publishing process. That means less time switching between platforms and more time focused on producing quality content. So when you put all those benefits together, the value of the BLOX Digital and Nextdoor integration becomes clear. You can expand your reach, engage more readers, Strengthen your brand and as a trusted news source, and do it all without adding additional work for your newsroom. With that, I'm going to turn some time over to our partners at Nextdoor to talk about their platform and how it can help you as a publisher.
All right, thank you so much, Stacy and Aaron, for the awesome introduction and for being great partners throughout this process. I feel like we can end the webinar there. That was a really good overview of why this integration is so valuable for local publishers. But of course, I will give you a little bit more context about the Nextdoor platform. About 1 in 3 households in the US have a Nextdoor account, but I think it's really helpful to, as context, share why Nextdoor is a little bit different than many of the other social networks you may be familiar with and use, and why it's so important and why we're so excited to roll this out to local news publishers in the US. So, as I mentioned, Nextdoor has been around for a little while. Many of you guys maybe have a Nextdoor account and receive some of our emails. Two distinguishing features about Nextdoor that makes us unique from all the other social networks. One, every single one of our users, about 110 million verified users thus far, mostly in the US, every single one of them has gone through an intense verification process. We verify people by real name, first and last name, email, and home address. So we use the physical address of where you live to then decide which geographic neighborhood group you belong to. So in this infographic here, you can see San Francisco. It's carved up into a bunch of little purple boxes. Every one of those little purple boxes is a neighborhood. It's a neighborhood group, right? And so when you give us your address, you're automatically placed into your neighborhood group and you connect to all the other residents who have signed up for Nextdoor in that group. That makes Nextdoor a really, really powerful tool for time-sensitive use cases, right? So let's say I'm brand new to the neighborhood. I move the next day, I sign up for Nextdoor, and then I get an alert in my feed saying that there's a gas leak. I wouldn't have ever been able to find out that information unless I had, went to Twitter and followed all the accounts that I should have, or anything like that. And so, and next slide. And so that's why we're especially proud of the reach and penetration that we've gotten so far. It's a very difficult process to grow the Nextdoor network house by house, block by block. But we have over 350,000 neighborhoods that have signed up for the platform so far. And what is really awesome in our growth story is that, and next slide. And what's really awesome in our growth story is that Nextdoor is perfect for the audiences that love local content and local news, right? So the vast majority of our audience are homeowners, they're parents with kids in the school system, they pay taxes, therefore they really care about what's happening in their communities. And you can think of it as our typical demographic as this. You start living in a place for a little bit longer than, at least for me, this was the case. I moved around a lot in my early 20s. Then I started to settle down to the Bay Area. It made sense to sign up for Nextdoor. I lost my dog. There was one place that I knew that I could reach all my neighbors, and that was all at once, and that was Nextdoor. And I stuck around ever since. Whenever I needed something done around the house, the garden, roofing, trusted recommendations were all Nextdoor. And next slide. And what the other unique thing is that our audience is accretive to the other social platforms, right? When you advertise on Nextdoor, as an example, you are reaching many folks who do not go to the other social networks as often. Next slide. but that's just a little bit of context of how the platform was built and what a demographic is. I'd love to talk a little bit about the news program specifically. So up until a year and a half ago, the vast majority, 99% of the content that you would see on our platform was user generated. So going back to some of the slides that we had before, every single block, every single neighborhood, rather, was a geographic group. All the neighbors in that group were responsible for the content in that group. So some of the use cases that I mentioned before, lost dog, recommendation for a home service, those were really, really important, and still today, key use cases for the platform. But what we would hear time and again throughout our growth story was, hey, I signed up for Nextdoor for actually neighborhood news. And when I log in every week or every day, I don't actually get some of the critical neighborhood or local news that is most relevant to me. But if I did, that would make my community more useful and more engaging. And so responding to that feedback, we developed the Trusted Verified Local News Page program last year. And essentially what that does is publishers get a free page, as local news publishers, if they meet our requirements, get a free page, and that page can automatically reach the neighborhoods that they cover. That's a very, very powerful tool, and we give this to our local news partners for free. No strings attached. And we've really scaled this program because the value proposition is so strong. We scaled this program very quickly over the last 18 months. I think some of these slides are even outdated now. We have 5,000 local news publishers in the US that have signed up so far. And almost every single city has coverage. Next slide. And where we are unique is, as I mentioned, your page, if you create local news content for a specific geography, and we can detect that that local story is relevant, let's say, to a specific neighborhood or a county or a city, we put that in those neighborhood groups. Many other platforms, you would basically, let's say you started TikTok tomorrow, you start with 0 followers. And it will be a grind for you to reach those people that are most relevant and probably would maybe likely subscribe to your local newsletter or your paid products or tune in to watch you on TV. You're going to spend marketing dollars trying to boost your content, or a whole team of interns trying to create content for you over the next 12 months to try to build that following that we give you on day one when you request a page. We also are different from some of the other platforms where we don't ban links or have links in bio. We actually have clear click to actions and big thumbnails for our users to click and read and go back to your site to read the full content. But I would say the one, I guess, thing to be transparent and aware of is that our algorithms aren't, we don't try to boost the most generically engaging thing in our feed. So if you post viral content about, you know, the war and wherever, it will probably not be distributed on Nextdoor. We only share local stories. And that's how our algorithm is tailored. It's tailored to local geographic relevance, not generic engagingness. So you will probably see less traffic and less page views from people who just discover your content from across the country. But the page views and traffic and the clicks and engagement that you do get from Nextdoor are people who live in your community and are interested in your local news. All right, next slide. And yeah, as we mentioned before, we have around 5,000 publishers who have signed up thus far. Many case studies that have been written about the product, including, one of our trusted early adopters, Eric Schanfeld of New View Media. You can read the block quote, kind of says it for itself. We've designed this program as we think to be a no-brainer to sign up if you're a local news publisher. And now with the BLOX integration, it should be really a couple clicks. And it is not only now a no-brainer, but also frictionless. So next slide. Yeah, a lot of the major publishers are using it. And next slide. If you haven't seen it yet, or you haven't been on the Nextdoor app in a little while, you can definitely log in and you can see the local news tab to see a dedicated feed of local news. But you will also, if you live in a specific area, you will have geo-tagged local news posts that are just in your neighborhood feed. Next slide. And finally, just to round it out, a couple of best practices. And, you know, there's probably 60 or some people on the call. I want to definitely have room for a bunch of questions in case you guys have it. But yeah, engaging topics and tactics. We support, like many of the other social platforms, social video, polls. Obviously, you can share your local news links, and just best practices that you can think of. Nextdoor is it's like a community forum. So the topics that generate the most positive discussion will bubble to the top. So think about like a new, a constructive debate around a new real estate development being built at the edge of town, and the news around that, that'll probably bubble to the top at the top of the on the Nextdoor feed. And always be thinking of local. So the more local your content is, the more relevant it is for Nextdoor audience. All right, and just next slide. And to round it out, here are the key benefits. It's from what I understand, and in the last 18 months, talking to the vast majority of our partners who you saw on that other slide, we are, you know, I can't speak for everyone, but the majority of the partners, that news partners that I talk to on a daily basis, say that we're the #2 referral source behind Facebook. In roughly a year and a half, we have leapfrogged Twitter and all the other ones. So I can speak to that pretty confidently, that this is definitely something to add to your repertoire. All right, let me kick it off back to Stacey and Aaron.
Perfect. This is probably what you're wanting to know, is how do I do this? This is the demo portion, so we'll take a look at this. And like I said earlier, whether you're in Next or whether you're in Legacy, the integration will work either way. But to do the setup, the setup portion happens in Legacy BLOX. Within Notifier, if you go to your settings, right down here on your options, there is a social accounts section. This is where you connect all of your Notifier social accounts. The process for connecting Nextdoor is very simple. If you click on it, you can see all the options and click on Nextdoor. There are 3 fields that you need to fill out. The first one is your email address. One thing you want to make sure is if you do already have an existing Nextdoor account, that your email address is tied to that account. If you don't, it's not a big deal. You do not have to go to Nextdoor to create one. You can do, if you put this information in here, it will create one for you. Takes another step out of your workflow. The next section the next field is publication URL. This is the publication URL that your website is at. So this is not your Nextdoor URL. This is the URL that your website is at, and it will need to be in this format where it's HTTPS : the full domain. And what that does is when you submit content, it's going to match your content against that domain to ensure that your content you're sharing is verified to be from your URL. And then the last one is your publication name. This will be what your publication is named on Nextdoor. If you already have a Nextdoor account with a business account, you'll want to use the same one you have there. If not, it's what you want it to be. So if you look at that's all you have to fill out. When you hit connect, it will kick you over to Nextdoor for authentication. The authentication is pretty simple. It's saying, yes, I want to share my content with this application. Once you hit accept, it'll kick you back to BLOX Notifier, and you can hit continue connection. That is the extent of how you can connect to Nextdoor. It's pretty simple. Once you connect, you will see that you have within Nextdoor, you have a publisher account that is a news and media website account. When you're connected, you can use your channel, your social connection here. In the same way you use it for all of your notifier accounts, you can set up a channel. So a channel is an automated channel of where you want your content to go to. So this one, you could name it breaking news, you could name it news alerts, whatever you want it to be. We're just going to say it's the Nextdoor demo. And you select what outputs you want it to go to. So this one, I want it to go to Nextdoor. You have a lot of different options, but this one, I want it to go to Nextdoor. Once you hit save, you have that as a channel option. You can see it here. I actually have two. Your channels, when you're creating your content, whether you're creating it in editorial or you're sending it through Notifier, you can select your article that you want to send. I'm going to send, this is a demo site, so I don't have a ton of local content, but like I said, local would be a better content than anything national. And you're going to select, I want to send it to the Nextdoor demo. You can hit send, and that schedules it to go to Nextdoor. One thing to note, when you're sending your posts, it does go through a verification process to make sure that the domain of the content and the domain that you entered earlier are the same. And once that's approved, then it'll approve. Sometimes it takes a few minutes with your first few, but it's a pretty quick process. I'm going to show you in Next. Let's see. Within Next, this is also available under Content and Notifier. Under Notifier, you can see that connections, your connections are, and this is still in beta, so keep that in mind. This is still a beta feature. Notifier is still in beta, but it shows you your connections. So you have your Nextdoor is connected through your BLOX Digital demo account name. When you are sending your notifications, they'll show up here as well, and you're able to schedule it to those same channels that you created earlier. You're able to schedule those both through assets or through automated channels. So if you put that as an automated channel, it will send it just like all of the rest of your newsroom content. And by automated channel, what we mean is this is your Nextdoor. It's going to go to Nextdoor. And I want to set up an automated rule. So I want all of my assets that are articles and collections that are in the section of news/local. I want all of the articles and collections that I put in news local to automatically send to Nextdoor. Once you hit save, you have that automated, and it will automatically, you don't have to do anything to going forward because you have that automatic notify set. You can do, so that way you can do a manual send or an automatic notify. from an article, and I will show you in here. If you're in an article asset, once you have that connection, once it loads, there we go. Over here under other, you can also see that it's been sent through Notifier or schedule a new message to send. And again, you're just going to select the Nextdoor demo and hit save and send, and that will send it. So there's two different ways you can do it. You can do it through manual send or through an automatic notify. In the sending on Next is also available through your assets. So if you have an article, for instance, that you want to send it on, you can, and this is a draft article, so let's see. It's the same process, though. You would select your notifier, open notifier on here, and create your post. Your post says what it's going to send there, and you select Nextdoor. So, like I said, it's built into your everyday workflows. If you don't ever want to think about it, you can set up automated channels, and then it just pulls anything that's in that news local or whatever section you would like to send. All of that will automatically send. If you want to choose which ones, you can do it pretty easily through the article asset itself. So, and with that, we are going to jump back over here and open it up for questions.
Thanks, Stacy. That looks really straightforward to set up. We do have one sort of setup question that's come in. We already have Nextdoor RSS feeds set up to automatically post. Do we need to turn that off to make sure we don't double post if we set up automatic notifier?
Yes, you'd want to turn off your RSS feeds if you want to use an automatic notifier in addition instead of that option.
Okay. A couple of questions that are more probably targeting the Nextdoor team. Can you talk a little bit about how neighborhood boundaries are determined by Nextdoor?
Yeah, really great question. So it really depends on when the neighborhood group was created. Back in the early days of Nextdoor's founding, the founding member of so basically the first person in your area to sign up for Nextdoor got the opportunity to draw the neighborhood boundary and name it. And that's how the first 100 or so thousand neighborhood boundaries were drawn. Since then, it's been a little bit more standardized to reflect like common neighborhood shapes. And we've done a lot of, I don't know, cartography is, I think, the right word, since then to make sure all of the neighborhood boundaries are mutually exclusive. They all essentially overlap and touch each other in the right ways. Having said that, maybe you can go back to that slide. What was it? Slide 5 with the picture of San Francisco. I probably should have tried to explain it a little bit more, but I think your question is around, like, I have a local story, like how does it show up in the feed, right? So if you look at this green hexagonal blob that is overlaid on the purple blobs, just imagine the green blob is where, and with the blue geotag, just imagine a story was geotagged to this neighborhood. It looks like it's in the Sunset District of San Francisco. And I believe, you know, like let's just imagine that this story was, there's a burglary in the Sunset, and it's at this point of interest. We'll geotag that local news story. It is definitely very relevant to all the users in that first shape where the tag is in. But we often get other cues in the story itself, like, hey, this is the fifth burglary in the, city, blah, blah, blah. And and our relevance kind of shows it to neighborhoods that it would be interesting to. So it's not just when you have a local news story that is pinpointed to a specific place, it doesn't just go to a tiny neighborhood. Normally, it's shared to many overlapping neighborhoods where it would probably be interesting. And so that's kind of what this green blob over all of the purple geometric shapes represents.
Okay. Can you provide some examples of some of the larger publications you're working with that are using Nextdoor?
Yeah, I think slide 12. I skipped over it a little fast. Is a pretty good example, representative, and I think these are the only logos where they've given us explicit permission to put on there. There's obviously, I think, 4,000 more that we could add to this. From my understanding, that's, I don't know, in between, let's call it 70%-ish of the local news publications in the US already on it. Something like that.
Will Nextdoor journalist pages be able to be connected to automatic notifier as well?
That's a good question. So we just rolled out journalist pages. We just rolled it out in April of this year. We have not actually opened up the journalist pages to be authenticated with our APIs yet. So, but the good thing is that all of our partners who have undergone the same process that BLOX Digital has, it's essentially the same, technically the same, OAuth steps. We just need to open it up, and then it'll be a fast follow. I hope. I just maybe signed up Stacy for some more roadmap work, but.
How are email push notifications chosen for what Nextdoor sends out?
Great question. So there are, I assume you get a lot of emails from Nextdoor. There are many, many, many factors that go into what you receive, but I'll pick out two. So we're known for, at least in the news space, the trending emails that you get, and that is, we call it new and trending, and that is a subset of like the trending posts that you would get in your neighborhood feed. And that can contain news stories, and a lot of the times, though, it contains a lot of user-generated content. The way you show up in new and trending is you have a story that is generating a lot of discussion, more so than the rest of the other posts that are posted to your feed at roughly the same time. That's like kind of the basic formula for any trending algorithm on social media. It's like a predicted engagement score times recency is the way to think of it. For what determines, we have also a local news dedicated email, and that takes the top 3 local news stories that are in your feed on a given day. So, let's say like your feed is an infinite scroll of stuff, but you have 5 local news stories that were tagged to your location. One was in slot 3 in your regular feed, one was in slot 10 and the other one's slot 30. We take those top ones and roll them up in an email and just push it to you on a daily basis, unless you've unsubscribed to that specific email. And you probably want to know the ranking. The ranking of local news is a little bit different than the the ranking of other content in the feed. It is, you can think of it as like, in the most basic analogy, a filter and a sort, right? So we look at all of the hundreds of thousands of local news stories that are passing through the platform every day when we'll run a filter. So we filter like a story based on, is this tagged or relevant to your location? If yes, great, it passes the filter. If not, then it doesn't show up, right? There's other filters too, right? Is this about a topic that we don't allow? If true, then it doesn't show up in the platform at all. So let's say passes the filter, then there's a sort function. And the main way that we sort local news stories is on actually, it's a complex model, but the two things are predicted click worthiness. So the one thing about local news that's different than the other types of content on the platform is we actually changed our model to rank news based on whether the user will click and read. That is very, very different than how Facebook, as an example, treats news on their platform. They don't want you to leave. They don't want you to click. They just want you to stay in their thing. We actually rank your stories based on whether you're going to click on them. So that's the number one kind of weighting. The second weighting is comments.
Okay. Thanks for all that detail, Jason. A couple of questions around sort of news organizations' roles in their neighborhood. I think these are kind of related. Can a news organization be a founder of a neighborhood? And is there any sort of market exclusivity for news organizations?
Yeah, so no market exclusivity. The ship has sailed for that because we're in almost 96% of the cities in the US already. What was the first part of the question?
I think it was asking.
Sorry.
Yeah. I put a answer in here just about if a news organization could be a founder of a neighborhood. And the answer is no. Founding a neighborhood on Nextdoor is a neighbor/member function. Again, it's like tied to your home address, the real name, all of that. Being a verified neighbor is something that, forms the neighborhood, right? So a publisher function is different, and we reserve that for neighbors.
At the same token, though, we are investing in a groups feature. So a neighborhood is a group, essentially, call a spade a spade. You can also, as a publisher, you get a page in this product. You can also create a group, and you can tie that group to a geography. And, if you want to build community the same way that these neighborhood communities are, operate, you can also create your own publisher group. So I'm not sure if that is going to answer the problem that you're trying to solve, but that it functionally in the product, that's one way to do it.
I'm looking through. Can you talk a little bit about how does advertising work in Nextdoor? Does Nextdoor sell advertising?
Yeah. So we have a couple business models. One of them is obviously ads in the feed. A lot of the interaction on Nextdoor is it's a news feed. And so we have a direct sales team that works with kind of, national brands that want to geo-target ads. So think of Home Depot selling a special for snow blowers during a snowstorm in Buffalo. And so, little feed ads show up in your feed. We also have self-serve ads. So any SMB or what have you can create an ad account and then buy placements on Nextdoor. And actually, we've run quite a few tests from publishers to buy ads and sponsorships. I think Hearst is the most recent one that comes to mind that ran a bunch of successful, I believe, ad campaigns around specific promotions and target markets. Hopefully that answers your question there. But yeah, this program that we run, Savannah and I, is just product led. It's organic. It's free. You can also advertise on top, which, you know, we're a public company, and so I should say definitely do that too. But this, what we offer, is completely free.
A question about sort of how a publication is assigned to a given neighborhood. So in this example, if the Killeen Daily Herald signs up, will their post show up in all existing neighborhoods in the Killeen, Temple, Fort Hood metro area? How do you do that targeting?
Yeah, great question. So it depends on how you sign up. If you sign up, I think Savannah probably put the link in here somewhere, www.nextdoor.com/publishers. There's, you know, a form. I mean, if I was presenting, I would just show you the form, but like there is a drop box where you can select, it's called discovery areas. And you can select, you know, a county, a city, cities, comma separated, counties, comma separated, or an entire metro area. And then, you know, that's how you tell us. If you sign up via, you know, the integration, I think through BLOX itself, and you don't select a geography, we basically learn it over time by looking at your content. And so one thing to note is the way that we geotag your content is we look at all the essentially points of interest, contextual clues in the story itself, and we learn like, oh, okay, this publisher posts all the time to this metro area or to this county or this city. Then align. It's most likely that the next story that they publish will also be relevant to all the geographies that they also published to before. So that's how we learn.
Okay. It looks like we have actually covered all of the questions that have come in. So thank you, everybody. This has been a really lively discussion, a lot of great questions. If you have any more questions about setting up this integration, you can go to help.bloxdigital.com. It's documented on help.bloxdigital.com. Of course, if you need support, you can go to support.bloxdigital.com to enter a ticket. Let's see. A couple of quick questions just came in, it looks like. Actually, I think so. Is the entire story published or just a teaser?
Teaser.
Yeah,
it's a teaser with a link. It's a teaser with a link back to your site. So it's a really good way to generate traffic and referrals to your site.
We actually don't have a way to send the full story yet, even if we wanted to, but maybe down the line. Okay.
Again, yeah, visit help.bloxdigital.com to view documentation for the setup. Support.bloxdigital.com if you need to talk to the support team. We will process this recording and send that out to all registrants as soon as it's available. So before the end of the week, you should see that. But thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. This is really exciting new functionality, and we're thrilled to share it with everybody. And thank you to Stacy, Jason, and Savannah for giving such a thorough and interesting overview of this functionality. Really appreciate it very much. Thanks, everyone. We will talk to you again soon.